See how many people. Yeah, and the people who almost don't need to be here are here again. Hi, everyone. Just to reiterate and emphasize what I need before Thursday morning, as I sent out earlier as part of the notices. On Thursday morning, I will be presenting your Part 2 submission. Sorry, this is not just being slow on me again. Your Task 2 submissions. Get fiber, they said. Fiber is quick. Get it, run 100 meg line. You'll be impressed, they said. Right. So in terms of what I need this. Okay. Now, Madeline is going into a particular organization. So she had to give me a gatekeeper's letter. If you're working across organizations, I don't need a gate. Secondly, okay, so there is the gatekeeper's letter. Okay, nicely done. Guys, you also had to do your information sheet, your consent form, your responded consent form. This had to be personalized, okay? Had to be personalized. And then you have to sign where it's necessary. You have to show that that is there. Do not contact students yet. And then Mads' name is in there. And I can only get you approved if those are attached. And those of you that didn't attach it in the first submission, you need to upload it as an extra submission in your task 2 space. I won't have time to check this before the meeting on Thursday. If it's not there, you don't get permission. It's as simple as that. I'm not begging, I'm not pleading. Guys, you guys are adults in this process, and that means you cannot start your research, and then it means I'll have to set up another meeting with a campus that's actually doing us a favor to do this. Distance doesn't have this kind of setup yet. So we're using Westville to do it. So the reality is those people that have not got the right attachments, I promise you I'm not checking this. If I open your document and you've not attached it, you are not going to be able to proceed with your research. And it also means that I now have to set up another meeting with the campus to try and convince them to have the meeting. And if you can't continue with your research, you can't actually go and do your physical research, and you can't submit your next 2-3 submissions, which means you fail the program. So I can't beg and plead, guys. My life is not about begging and pleading at this level. So you know what's in your hands, and you know what you need to do. Those are the attachments. They were available, made available, sent out. Everyone has them, and it's in your hands to do that. Okay, enough negativity. Whitney, you guys upload yours. Okay, yeah, yours.
Sorry.
Ransom, you know what you have to do. Yeah, go for it.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
I just want to know, for that gatekeeper's letter, do we have to have the one that I've submitted is not signed yet, although his details is there, name and surname and details.
I need a signature, boy. I need a signature. It has to be signed. It has to be signed.
Only for the gatekeepers.
Simple as that. If it's not signed, I can't. Only for the gatekeepers, and wherever you have to sign. I can't remember offhand what you have to sign.
Okay.
So you must just check the forms themselves. But the gatekeeper doesn't count for anything unless it's signed. Okay.
Okay. I'll get that sorted. Thanks.
Okay, that's important. So it's not a fully fledged ethics committee as we do with honors, but we're just calling it an ethics meeting, and we still have to go through the process. It's not as per policy, but it's been decided, guys, and I didn't really want to start arguing, fussing, and fighting. We've made the arrangements. Let's use the arrangements that are there. I'm in the fortunate position that I'm also lecturing this for Westville, so I'm just going to slot you into my Westville meeting. It's as simple as that. Okay. Now, all of this is premature, and the simple truth is the only time that we can actually start looking at this is once your research is done. So over the next couple of weeks after tonight, and that also depends on you getting permission to continue, we are going to do, I suppose, a form of supervision, the blending of the actual lectures and supervision. But it's for you to physically get your forms out. It's for you to go and get your research instruments sorted. Also, guys, in terms of the feedback that I've given you, please go check if that feedback relates to your research questions, your research instruments. You have to start fixing those, because you cannot go out and start asking questions and contacting, etc., unless you've accommodated that feedback. So we'll have to have a chat about you fixing your task 2 as well. So those of you that had major fixes to make to task 2, I urge you to do it before, my goodness me, on Thursday, so that we can then just move on. Those of you that have got in the high 70s and 80s, you can continue with your research, unless I've given really serious change this, change that, this is not to standard. That has to be done urgently before you can continue, and that to me is an essential part of your research. Yep, go for it, Matt.
Sorry, so I just wanted to confirm quickly for my forms. So my forms, the way that the options go, it starts as strongly disagree, and then the bottom option is strongly agree. Do I need to change it around so it goes from strongly agree down, or does it not really matter?
1 has to be strongly disagree, 5 has to be strongly agree. Okay, that's the order that you need to that you're calculating. So 1 is strongly disagree, disagree, and then whatever the middle one is, and then from there you'll go to strongly or agree, and strongly agree will be 5.
Okay.
If you've got it in that order, you sort it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't put numerical values, but it is going like that.
Yeah, no, then it's spot on. Then it's spot on. And remember, guys, I'm only talking now, obviously, to the quantitative people then, and that's your Google Forms. That has to go and be made available through the link to your guys. Please also make sure that you get them to sign the consent form, okay? So that they consent and somehow link the consent form to the research form. I don't know how you're going to do that. But that's a problem for after Thursday, okay? But Matt, I think you've got it in hand. I think for somebody who hasn't done research, I think paying attention and yeah, you've done incredibly well. So I'm not worried about that. Okay, who on the call is quantitative? Who's doing quantitative? I know Mads, you're doing quantitative. Wits, are you doing quantitative as well? Whitney, Ransom, you've gone qualitative. Whitney, yeah. I know, Lishal, you've moved to qualitative.
Yes,
and then Ransom,
qualitative.
You also qualitative. Hey?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So what you'll see is the rest of the stuff is in your task 2. So I'm going to just take you guys through some of the stuff that we're doing. Now, again, it's hell of a premature. And the simple truth is that as much as I would love to spend time taking you through the detail, none of this is going to make sense until you actually have got your, and we refer to first order data, and that's the data from your participants. But in terms of the quantitative people, and my apologies for the qualitative people, I've got a set of slides for you as well. Yours is about statistics, and it's about statistical analysis. And I don't want, Maddie, and I don't want you, Whitney, to start panicking because you're hearing statistics. I promise you we've got this in hand. I will provide you with the video clippings on how to do the different analyses. This is not going to be a major headache. Your headache is the collection. Your analysis is the easy bit. Qualitative guys, your easy bit is the collection. You only have to interview 3 people. Your difficult bit is the analysis. You are going to spend a bit of time in terms of your analysis. So why do we need statistics? And I am not going to go through every line on that slide, but it's essentially about making sure that we objectively prove, in our instances here, relationships. Both of you have decided certain independent and dependent variables, and on the basis of each of your dependent and independent variables, you then have selected existing scales, and we've turned those existing scales into your Google Forms, which has made your life easy because we don't have to go through those validation processes because somebody else had already done the validation in terms of the surveys. So from a stats perspective, we need it in terms of our gathering the data. But in terms of gathering data, it's to make sure that we have internally valid questionnaires, that we have consistent questionnaires, that the questionnaires have already been made valid. It's about analyzing the data. In terms of analyzing the data, we are looking at relationships. We are looking at the specific aspects related to your independent and dependent variables. And then from there, it's about looking at the significance of the statistics. It's about interpreting the data, and then we will then start presenting and making certain suggestions about the data. Most organizations will use stats as a form of making predictions about the future, looking at successes around the past, because it gives us objective measures in terms of those issues. If we look at the different forms of descriptive stats that we're using, in all likelihood, you will be using your measures of central tendency. I would imagine that we'll look at mean, median, and mode, and we'll talk about those. And in terms of presenting the range of data and how the data relates to each other, we'll have a number of measures of dispersion. I would imagine that most of you would look at standard deviation and variance and range in presenting your information. Please don't panic because the slides give us a description of all of those. So in terms of the different forms of statistical data that we'll look at, the range, the maximum and minimum levels in terms of the information that we've collected via the survey, and then we look at the central point. So the central point will always relate to the mean, median, and mode. I don't know if we've done this, but if we look at measures of IQ, that little centerpiece there is exactly 100, and that gives us the perfect bell curve as it relates to IQ. Have we done this already, guys? I lecture a lot of these, so we might have done it. I'm not sure. I don't think we have, though. Have we done it? Okay, so then the reality is, Mads, I don't have anything else. Have I shared these slides with you guys? Okay, let me upload
Double checking, but I don't think so.
Have I shared it? Sorry, say again, Maddie.
I'm just double checking, but I don't think these have been shared.
I'm going to shove it on the WhatsApp group quickly. Let me see if this WhatsApp, why is it not opening now? Sorry guys, my laptop is having a real wobbly moment today. And it is a fancy new laptop, so don't think it's some old clunky thing. Okay, so it should upload very, very quickly. Guys, the simple truth then is, for Pete's sake, listen to the feedback. I'm just going to exit and come back in.